Bitcoin price update for Friday, August 1st. We're going to look at the monthly close for Bitcoin. We're going to start off on the monthly chart, look at the macro initially, and then we'll zoom in to the daily and look to what we could focus on over the next several days to several weeks, and look at some key levels, high and low, and some important indicator updates as well. So if you like the video, thumbs up. If you want more help navigating this cycle, consider subscribing to our Patreon Silver group. Get access to a lot of more educational videos, my hundreds of hours of formal education in the CMT I try to pass on to you and help you become a better fisherman in the crypto world. All right, let's get right to it. So first and foremost, our Fibonacci extension, as you can see up there, 175. So that's from our previous cycle peak with a wick and our cycle low with a wick. So are we going to hit that? We don't know. But I do think we will be going higher before this cycle is over. I do not think we are done by any stretch of the imagination. I would imagine at least several more months. I think this is actually a good thing that we are kind of calming down a little bit. And Bitcoin could go down a little bit further. And we'll look at where particularly we could be holding the line or where we should be holding the line. And then, where we could possibly move up to in the peak. This is probably about as good as it's going to get. If you're thinking much higher than that, I'd like to see the reasoning behind it. If you have any other, crypto influencers that are calling for 200K plus or anything over 175, I'd like to see why. If you could leave me a comment on said video, I would love to see it. I do not fathom a whole lot of price action. Maybe with a wick or something, we could get above that. But anything around 140, 150, I think we could start considering a top is nearby. But are we there yet? No. So I think we still have plenty more time. Somewhere late in Q4 2025 is kind of what I'm looking at. Okay, so monthly chart. We got that out of the way. The monthly close, a bullish candle, all-time high monthly close at 115.7. All-time high monthly close. Great. Another one, just like we got last month. And the month before that. So we're looking great. Every month, right, we're going to see some volatility, some wicks high and low. We've just started. So don't panic too much, right? One other thing we need to point out is potentially, and this is loosely, this is very kind of a stretch of the imagination. We'll show you why on both sides. But I've seen some people argue that there's a potential inverse head and shoulders forming the shoulder back last cycle peak. And maybe another one right in here. And then this would be the head at the bear market lows. What would the possibility, right? And what is the price on that? Like, well, the extension would be almost 300K if you take it from that. If you were to argue that that is, in fact, an inverse head and shoulders, you take it from the low close to the high where the, the neckline is, which is that diagonal line you see right there. And then you would take that, by definition where the breakout is, and then wherever you get your peak. Look at that price. That's pretty amazing, 300K. But you could kind of start to back this up because you see a breakthrough and then kind of a throwback retest, and look where it held. Right, then it starts to get a little bit more convincing. But my really test for this is, well, let's look at closing prices. Does it look like maybe still there? Okay, you could kind of squint your eyes and maybe see it. But where it starts to fall apart for me is if you invert this chart, do you see a head and shoulders here? To me, it looks very, very, very much like you're reaching here. Right, so maybe you could argue that. That looks pretty good. But where the hell is the shoulder? Is the shoulder here? Really? Is that it? So putting that loosely, obviously if we pass 200K, maybe this has got some more weight to it. But as for right now, it's a little bit hard for me to buy, but, I've seen that thrown around a little bit. So I figured I would address that. As for now, right, let's just zoom into the monthly close. We have our zones here, right, which I put this on purpose, like blue sky zone, right? Is there any problems in blue skies? No. Right, so green zone is still pretty good, right? You see our range high wicks, so we could even wick down in there, right? Look at these prices. We could still break 110 and theoretically still be okay. the EMA 8 on the monthly is just above 100K. And our yellow zone, which would be a little bit more caution. And anytime we hit a red zone, and I can adjust these as prices move up, and I have done that. But anytime we hit the red zone with a wick or anything, I think it's a real possibility of bear market is here. And not only here, but obviously the top would be in at that point. So we'd want to be paying attention to that. And I keep these zones, right? We have Q4 at the end of these. So we're trying to make the cycle at least go to Q4. We'll see if we can get it, but all-time high monthly close, we're looking good so far. Let's zoom into the weekly. I do want to note a couple indicator updates on that monthly. We can go look at what has updated at the Bitcoin hash ribbons. We actually got a green recovery sign. So we had capitulation in June, recovery confirmed at the close. Now we're waiting for a blue. Don't always have to get it. And you can see previously, sometimes it takes months, sometimes it's just the very next month, right? Back in 2020, it was the very next month. And also noting that that was the last time we really got multiple monthly buy signals. That was pretty rare. As we go into the weekly, which I'll show you momentarily, this was also the last time we have multiple closely related buy signals. And we don't have it yet here on the monthly, but on the weekly we do. So that took about a month. This was about 3 months. And noting where the cycle was, like we still had a couple months left after that buy signal, right? We lasted until November, December, so several more months. This one was a little bit longer even. And we know that was really the start of the bull run in 2023 when we got that signal. We've really only had 2 signals this entire bull run so far. Are we going to get 3? Well, we'll see how September updates. July closed great. August, September is probably the next time we're going to have that confirm. So we got to wait a little bit. Now, if we go in and look at the same chart on the weekly, you can see what we're talking about here. So we have buy signal, buy signal, buy signal, and we just got this confirmed as well. Actually, last week, but it didn't change this week, so that's a good thing. So we've had that now for a week consecutive running at a blue buy signal. Now, going back to 2020, you can see what I was talking about here. Right, see how compact we are? We haven't had that since back then. So maybe a sign of a more parabolic move to come, or it's really on our second data point, right? We have nothing else in history to study. So, drawing conclusions off of one event is pretty much a coin flip. So I wouldn't put too much weight into that, but interesting to note nonetheless. Triple buy signals very close together. Last time we got that was 5 years ago. All right, now going out to the weekly, back to the price charts here. Right, you can see us breakout candle, move back down to the EMA 8 would not be unexpected. And that is where I would look to hold a weekly close at the worst case scenario. You can see we're still above our blue sky zone, noting our high wick here at 112. And now the EMA 8 is just north of that, around 113. So maybe we see a wick even just back testing that wick, right? Previous range high wick to new range low wick before continuation. Keep that in mind. We're still in the blue sky zone. If we move down here, right, we're still okay. This still looks fine. If we start to close under the EMA 8, we got to get out of there within the next candle, kind of like we did right here. If we close 2 consecutive candles under the EMA 8 on any chart, usually you're needing some more consolidation. It's a slightly more bearish, right? Wind out of your sails. You lost a lot of momentum if you do that. So that would be our warning. But, I mean, we're still well above it. We would still have to drop an additional 3%, which is obviously Bitcoin can do very quickly. But right now, we're pretty much flat on the day. Dominance is relatively flat, but still kind of creeping back up. We'll take a look at that in a minute as well as we zoom into the daily. But Bitcoin on the weekly still looks pretty terrific, right? Remember, we were at 98K not that long ago. And in less than 30 days, we made a 25% move, right? Now we're just down 7%, right? I think we're allowed to do that. After a 25% move, do you think we could give a third of that back just as a retest, right? Go into maybe a kind of a flag formation here, right? We could do that. No big deal. Okay, put it on closing prices, still looks okay. So no warning signs, no epic candles, right? That's kind of a doji candle. Same with that, right? Kind of 50% bull, 50% bear, just depending on the color. But no, obviously this one is monumentally bullish. So far on the week, right? We're a little bit more bearish than not, right? That's hard to argue, right? The longer the bar, right, the more bearish or bullish. But these two, I wouldn't put anything in. There's no like topping signal here, kind of like we had back here. That was a little bit more of a warning, right? It's kind of a high wave candle where you see this big sell-off and a lower wick as well, but bigger wick, maybe a little bit of a warning because we made a new higher high and then came back down and closed not a new higher high, right? So that's a little bit more of a warning. We'd be watching for something like that, but not any of these. This to me just looks like consolidation, and that kind of is backed up as we zoom into the daily. We've lost our horizontal zone that we were in for a good amount of time. And speaking of, marking a local high, I mean, look at that candle, right? That was a good sign of a local spot top. It doesn't mean necessarily bearish, as you could see from the next 2 weeks of price action. But now, as of yesterday, we closed under the 21 day, which we have today to recover like we did back here, or we're likely going to need many more days to recover, right? Here's our last close, like multiple closes, right, underneath the 21. And we needed about another week to 10 days to kind of recover. And I would put that, not necessarily a copy paste or a repeat, but maybe a rhyme. So another 1 to 2 weeks if we close today under the 21 day. So as of right now, the 21 EMA is at 116.6. So if we close above that, we're good, right? We could do something like this and just continue on our merry way, right? We could do this and, be up at 130 by this time next week. If we don't close back above here today, I would expect something like this, where I don't, who knows how low it goes, but where did it reverse last time? The 100. Like what if we did that again? Right, here's the 100 coming up to 108, 109, something like that. Previous range highs, new range lows, right? That would all kind of make sense. So today's close will kind of nail that lid down or not. We don't have much to do. We have to get the right tool, and we're looking to close today only 1% higher. If it can close 1% higher, the bulls are still in charge. If we don't, the bears start to lean out, and it could just mean more consolidation like this, but down here, or just a slow move down or a fast move down, depending on what we do, back to kind of retest and give us a little bit more of a breather, which is still not all bad. The silver lining that we talk about in our group is that we're most assuredly going to hit Q4 in a cycle peak if we maintain our theory that we're going to peak out around 150-ish, which I still strongly believe. Then retesting down here for a couple weeks would almost nail that coffin down, right? Because we probably need 2 weeks down, couple weeks back up maybe. Now we're in September, back to range highs, and then our breakout for another 1 to 3 months, take us into Q4, peak at 150, alt season, late Q4, mid to late Q4, and Bob's your uncle. All right. All right, the daily chart, there you go. So now we've broken out of this to the downside. If we look at the Bollinger Bands, right, those are always a good signal. But look how much we pinched up here. And this is a sign, right? You started to close multiple candles underneath that median Bollinger Band, slight edge to the bears, right? Because of those two candles, previous, Tuesday, Wednesday close. Thursday really started to confirm it, right? We closed under the 21 outside the lower Bollinger Band. And now we've definitely on the momentum of the bearish side, right? Per said Bollinger Bands. And this is all developed in the past really 24 hours. The last time we saw something like this, which we discussed in our group yesterday, is back in 2023. And coincidentally, like that was almost exactly what we did back then. Go look at it. See if I can get it for you. All right, we're looking at the Bollinger Band kind of aspect where we make a big move up. Let's see, it's still back here. Apologies, bear with me. Big move up will come. It's almost here, folks. All right, we made a big move up here. Right there's look at that Bollinger Band. Right, we didn't breach the 21 EMA. Let's see the difference there, where we've closed now below it. Okay, that was then, and I think there's one more. Let me see if I can find it right here. Okay, that was a good one, and this one looks more similar because we hit off the lower Bollinger Band a couple months ago, and then we made a big move up, closed up. But even here, like we closed one or two candles, like see the Bollinger Bands, they're almost exactly like this right now. We didn't have the fake out move up. Instead, we just kind of are bleeding out, and this could be a fake out to the downside before kind of, the inverse of this, where we're faking out to the downside and we're getting ready to scoot back the other way. So today's close is definitely going to be pivotal, pivotal and pitiful. If we close under the 21 EMA, this just increases our odds of further downside or consolidation. Now, keep in mind, like we closed under here, and like maybe look at how long this took. That was another 20, 30 days within a really like a few percentage points. So it doesn't mean we necessarily have to cataclysmically fall. Certainly not like this. This is different times. But based on these Bollinger Bands and the price action setup, I would look for a rhyme of this, at least this part, over the next 1 to 2 weeks if we close today under that 21 EMA. And I think that's a big pivot point. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. For Bitcoin, if you have any more questions, you see anything else that you want to talk about more, requests for altcoins on the next cycle, or you can just join our group, and we do requests there on a daily basis. And a lot more stuff, market caps, dominance, charts, comparing altcoins to Bitcoin, all that good stuff. Let's get to our quote and card of the day, and then I'll cut you loose for this great weekend ahead. August 1st, quote of the day, loading. A single sunbeam is enough to drive away many shadows. We need a Bitcoin sunbeam. It's coming. Confidence. All right, card of the day. What do you want to see? Is it going to pop up? If you guessed Porsche 911 GT3, today's your lucky day. It's loading. All right, I'm going to do like we did yesterday on our video, where we have a couple big, changes. We can scroll down and look at different ones. So if you're into cars, right, maybe you want to stick around for a few minutes. If not, Porsche 911 GT3, this is all you're going to see. I love the refresh on the single taillight. I think a lot of cars are going to start going to that, kind of like Cybertruck and the single head beam, the new Model Y. The rear lights, the front lights. I think everything is going to get more minimalistic, and I think it should, right? It looks more futuristic. I think Porsche did a great job with that. In my opinion, looks really good. Keep on scrolling. What else do we got? I love the new headlights too. The quad beams. Those are really nice design. That looks great. Good spec there. The green and the silver wheels. Good white spec there. Cool interior. Kind of a little basic for, $250,000 car. This is like Lambo money. If you weren't aware the GT3s, GT3 RSs are that expensive. They are. Love the manual. You can still get those. Also known as gated. Love to do that if you got a supercar. This is the back seat. That's enough for at least a sack of potatoes. That's pretty tiny. Pretty cool. I like the red seat belts, red stitching, little accents, but still looks a little basic for me for a $250,000. That looks not basic. That looks great. I love the carbon fiber kind of side skirts there. Then you got, the wheels look really nice. Bronze. I think that's it. All right. Well, that's all you get. We'll end it on that one. We'll keep it there. That's a good picture. Alrighty, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you either in our group or on the next YouTube video. 5Day Crypto, out.